It was warm and humid afternoon in the Caribbean islands. They have 365 of those every year. And my wife Sharon and I were in the backyard of some old, new friends of ours. New friends become old friends very quickly among those warm and friendly people in the Caribbean islands. And Sharon was impressing them with her beautiful Spanish, and I was entertaining them with my splintered Spanish. And we were having a good time because I had brought a friend of mine with me, a friend named Martin, and they loved Martin. They liked him. Partly I think they identified with him because he's beat up and old, and so are some of them. But mostly they like to hear him sing, and he can sing. Beautiful bass tones and high soaring tenor tones. Very talented, and they loved it. He's not the first group of islanders who have been thrilled, maybe mesmerized by his abilities. 52 years before, when he and I were both younger, I took him with me to the Tonga Islands, where I served the mission, and they loved him there. He's performed many places in the world and in 49 of the 50 states. North Dakota, we are still waiting. Yes. And he loves to sing for audiences, but he also can kind of whisper a little lullaby to a sleepy child. And for 7 years, every week, he would go and sing to a paralyzed Army veteran in an iron lung. He finally escaped his iron lung by leaving his body there, and spirit flew to heaven. But he appreciated Martin singing to him. He sung to other service people too, at Army bases, military bases in Japan and Korea, and on the battlefield, as well as in the bases and the hospitals in Vietnam. Once we were flying into an aircraft carrier to land on an aircraft carrier, and as you know, there's a tail hook on the plane that hooks on a wire, comes across the deck and stops you very quickly. It's standard procedure, nothing dangerous, but someone forgot to tighten Martin's safety strap, and he went flying by my head and crashed into the bulkhead in front of the front part of the plane. He was dizzy, but he survived okay. And once in Puerto Rico, he fell down and cracked his neck. But these were sort of like arm wrestling compared with the beating he took from a bunch of goons on a flight to Oregon one time. You would think with all the trouble he's gone through and the dangers, he wouldn't want to go with me anymore, but somehow he does. Whenever I want to go somewhere, he always wants to be the first one to get picked up, and I usually do and take him with me. Which brings us back to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean islands. While we were there, one of our new friends said, "Senor, if this house caught fire, which would you save first, your wife or your guitar?" Well, I gave the right answer, but I was a little slow coming up with it. I paused and thought just a moment. They thought that was hilarious. They fell off their chairs and benches and tree stumps and all the things we were sitting on. Fortunately, Sharon thought it was funny too. Otherwise, we'd have both been in big trouble. But Sharon knows I love both of them. So, subject of this little discussion is love and the guitar. The Hispanics get very romantic about their guitars. They talk about her beautiful shape, about her long and shapely neck, about her delicate touch and her sensual voice. It's really quite moving. My guitar is not one of those. My guitar is a tough-necked, straight-shouldered, thick-body, flat-bottom hoss. He's an hombre, a flat-picking, screaming, singing, roaring hombre. Although I usually use finger picks with him. I finger pick him more than flat pick him, but that's a technicality. He's my friend. He, just to give you a little background, This guitar was built by this model of this guitar was built by the Martin Company back in 1931. They came out with this because they wanted a guitar with a big, deep voice. And so they gave it a nice thick neck to hold everything up, and straight shoulders and a thick body, a big body and a flat bottom. And just so there would be no mistaking their intentions, they named it the DreaDnaught. This is a DreaDnaught 18, a D18 guitar. The DreaDnaught was the biggest battleship in the British Navy. Now, thick neck, thick body, flat bottom, deep bass voice, sounds more like a guitar on steroids, and certainly not the sort of description and adjectives you would like to use to describe your dearly beloved. But he's mine, and he's my old friend. I've customized him a little bit. I wore out one set of frets, and I've worn down the fretboard where my fingers go on. You can see the burn marks on his face here, where from my flaming solos, right? That's a little bit of a joke. Anyway, he's kind of beat up. He's old and not as handsome as he used to be, just like me. But he is my friend. As a matter of fact, 3/4 of my life's memories are wrapped around the strings of this guitar. Sometimes when I feel like the world or the universe is beating up on me, my guitar talks to me. He says, "Now I know you want to get this stuff out of your system, so go ahead. Pick on me." And I do.